Okay. All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome again our weekly meeting on Sunday, and we're going to continue reading from 20th letter, and inshallah. So we have our panelists today ready. Harun Hojam from here in the US, and inshallah, I think we're waiting for Kolin Hojam to join us, and then we're going to have maybe one or two brothers joining in later on. So. All right, let's begin our discussion again. So we're still continuing with 20th letter, and hopefully we're gonna finish it. But it's going a little kind of slow, but I guess like we're all enjoying and learning more and more from one of the important actually topics in Risale Nur. And it's basically just we also need to remind ourselves and listen to some comments and inshallah enlarge our iman and belief, and of course, just educate ourselves even more and more by listening and reading. Okay, so this is the part that we are reading. So from 20th letter. Bismihi subhanahu wa min shay'in la yusabbihu bihamdih. La Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير وإليه المصير. So this is the 10th phrase that we are in. وهو على كل شيء قدير. And we stopped at page, I believe, 10 or 11 last week, and I'm going to continue reading it. And hopefully we'll stop and talk and discuss more. All right. Bismillah. Thus, and God's is the highest similitude from 1660. The manifestation of the universe's all-glorious maker is such, with all his attributes which are light, and with all his names which are luminous, that through the mystery of the regard of oneness, although he is not in any place, he is all present and all seeing in all places. There is no division in his regarding and acting towards the creation. He performs every task at the same time, in all places, without difficulty, without hindrance. Thus, it is through these mysteries of the assistance of unity, facility of unity, and manifestation of oneness, that when all beings are attributed to a single maker, the creation of all of them becomes as simple and easy as that of a single being. And each being can be as valuable as all beings as regards the fineness of its art. This truth is demonstrated by their being within the boundless plenitude of being's endless subtleties of art in every one of them. If the beings are not attributed directly to a single maker, each becomes as problematical as all beings, and the value of all of them decreases. It falls to that of a single being. If it were the case, either nothing would come into existence, or if it did, it would be without value, worthless. This mystery led the sophists, who were the most advanced philosophers, to realize that the path of associating partners with God was infinitely more difficult than the way of truth and the end path of affirming divine unity, that it was irrational to the utmost degree. So because they had averted their faces from the way of truth and looked to that of unbelief and misguidance, they were compelled to renounce their reasons and deny the existence of everything. Well, I guess this is a good kind of logic that Ustad is sharing with us, and I would like to now maybe start with Harnojam to comment at least the last part of the third part of the 10th race. And
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Nazif Hocam. Selamünaleyküm.
Walaikum salam.
That part looks like is continuum of
Mhm.
Ehadiyya,
Yes.
obviously related with Ismi Ehad. And maybe Ismail had with all philosophy and with all the explanations, descriptions inside Risale-i Nur,
Mhm.
it's something huge. As if we understand Ahadiyya, maybe we understand one third of Risale-i Nur, even one third of maybe belief, to some extent.
Mhm.
Uh, so with that, I think here Ahadiyat is used in a way that it combines all the beautiful names of the creator.
Mhm.
So all the names are Nur. That means they are not of the kind we are really familiar with, or everyday life. We don't notice Nur, or
Yes.
our physical body and physical senses, to say, don't
Mhm.
interact with Nur. We know the Nur interacts with our heart. Whenever somebody smiles, I
Mhm.
just feel the warmth in my heart, and this warmth is,
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
kind of Nur, if
Mhm.
not Nur.
Yeah.
So, but I can feel the warmth of a tea, physically.
Mhm.
So they are
Yes.
different kind.
Mhm.
So with that, actually, Allah's beautiful names, Creator's beautiful names, manifest in our hearts. So, and since they are of Nur here, uh,
Mhm.
if something's property is of Nur, out of Nur,
Mhm.
then it has no physical constraints. It has no equations to obey in this sense.
Mhm.
So that brings, manifestation of pure, pure, sheer Nur names within us, within
Mhm.
cosmos.
Mhm.
And all the qualities that we sense out of hearts mostly,
Mhm.
joyfulness, maybe most of the emotions that we feel, just come out of this, combinations of reflections of beautiful names of the Creator.
Mhm.
So I think at this point, the mystery of this part lies within the concept of Nur that is closely associated with the manifestations of, combinations of Esmail Husna. And
Mhm.
that makes everything actually as a mirror of reflection,
Mhm.
regardless of how big, how small it is. It can be
Mhm.
as small as a bug, as big as a universe. Since Nur does not matter, I mean, Nur can manifest in any context, to say.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that would bring, if there's a value, and apparently there's a value in the universe, this value would be prevalent in the small and in the big
Mhm.
equally.
Mhm.
Even for our judgment, we would say small is more valuable since small shows similar attributes to the big, and it is for us more difficult to put things inside a smaller scale.
Right.
So this is what I understand from this part particularly.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, again, just good explanation. I like your examples especially. And I'm really curious, like, maybe just what Kumlajam is gonna comment on this. Yeah, because you gave good examples, and I'd like to now just turn to Kumlajam. Kumlajam?
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah,
Walaikum
I'm
salam.
interested to know what I'm going to say because I haven't really thought about it. Um, I was
Yeah.
thinking about last week when we said that
Mm,
it's important for us to understand that Ahad and Wahid,
mhm,
they have to be understood. We can't just say Allah is one. We have
mhm,
to look at the different components of oneness. And
mhm,
there is the exclusive oneness, which is Ahadiyya, which incorporates uniqueness and
mhm,
shows us that Allah is a creator who is always creating, and every
mhm,
creation is unique. That
mhm.
avoids us attributing it to a kind of conveyor belt or a photocopy machine kind of
Right.
creation. And
Mhm,
Wahid also prevents us from attributing different creatures to different causes or to different creators.
mhm,
But what Ustad does here afterwards, he shows us that these are only perspectives, these are for us,
mhm,
that actually all of his attributes are light. Now, what does
mhm,
that mean? It means light is indivisible, really. It's only when it's refracted that
mhm,
you can see the seven colors. But in actual fact, they are one, and that is the mystery. There was a discussion on Facebook recently. Someone said that the fact that Allah has different names means that he cannot be simple, basit.
Hmm.
Clearly, there's a misunderstanding here, and I think if that person were to read this particular section,
Right.
it sort of shows how it all happens behind the scenes.
Mhm.
Um, and one of the reasons that sun worship became so big is that the sun is an excellent example of Tawheed because it shines on everything equally, big and small.
Yeah.
And of course, the sun is a corporeal manifestation of Nurullah.
Right.
Allah's Nur, of course, is not physical Nur. When it
Mhm.
says Allah Nur samawat wal ard, it doesn't mean that Allah is like the sun and lights everything up.
Yeah.
But we have to see, what does light do? Light makes things visible and understandable.
Hmm.
Um, so this is, and light, as Harun was saying, is it can go everywhere and
Yeah.
it treats things equally. So when the sun shines on a tree and when it shines on a fly, it's
Hmm.
exactly the same. So
Hmm.
the sun is an excellent example of Tawheed, of Ahad and Wahid, actually, because everything also uses sunlight in different ways.
Right.
Um, and it's no accident, or it's no surprise that people worshipped the sun. And for example, the first coins were gold coins, and gold looks like the sun, and
Mhm.
it's the most valuable of all coins. And
Mhm.
if you think of the lion, they say the lion is the king of the jungle, and the lion's face, with the mane around his face, actually looks like the sun.
Mhm.
So the sun was a very, very big symbol in primitive societies. And actually, Ustad takes it, and in a sense, he Quranicizes it,
Mhm.
Quranifies it, or I could
Mhm.
say Islamicizes it, and uses
Mhm.
it as an excellent example of Tawheed.
Right.
Because Allah, actually, his Ahadiyya and his Wahidiyya are not separate things. These are not sort of traits that he owns. You can't separate them. And in this section here, he's
Mhm.
saying, right?
Mhm.
He's saying, because of luminosity, because Allah is disengaged from creation, Allah is present with his creation everywhere, just as light is present with things everywhere. So when we
Mhm.
say Ahad and Wahid, the division is for us. We have
Mhm.
to understand those perspectives. But for
Mhm.
Allah, all of his names, they can't be separated from him. They're not separate entities. And I think this is maybe what Ustad is also
Yeah.
trying to tell us.
Yeah. 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 Thank you, sir. Yeah. Yeah. Great example. Yeah. Great comment on that. How about Hikmet Hocam? Would you like to comment on this?
I'm gonna listen today. I'm not in a place that I can talk. So sorry, but
Certainly.
inshallah,
Certainly.
I'll
Yeah. Yeah.
listen.
Makes sense. No problem.
Thank you.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Yeah. Oh, thanks a lot. Yeah, just to Kulajam and Hornajam. Yeah, just great examples and great just summary of that. And especially I enjoyed just that sun example that, well, actually, it's both of you guys, like, when you gave that Noor and sun just analogy. So I really loved it, and how you just use the word that just Quranifying it and Islamifying it. Yeah. And
Actually, Nazif Hocam, I would love
please.
to hear
Mhm.
your opinion as well. You can, I
Oh,
think,
okay.
elaborate on this from economical perspective, since it
And
talks about, the value,
mhm.
value of the mass versus, small
Mhm.
scales. I find it very relevant too.
Oh, yeah. Just overall, it's a special. I mean, just like how we just give the value overall, just from economics perspective. Just I love the fact that especially when you guys like can use it in a way that has some examples, especially that sound like in a light example, and just finding some truth in it. And so, of course, I'm just now looking from one point, like in just Allah's like in God's unity, and how he just, of course, I'm just a lot just to for us to understand Ustad Bediüzzaman. So he uses great kind of wording, and the way that he's just branching out and to like to us like presenting it how we can understand, and especially using everyday kind of like in life, right? Everyday just tools, and everyday like both of you guys like when you just gave the same example, and especially from Stud's like point of view, and looking into and how we can now like gonna have the partnership, and that when you just asked about like from economics point of view, And especially when colonialism, like, and they use the word that just even back then, like, I mean, the gold was used, and it just reminded me fact that Allah does not need partners, and how we realized that the path of associating partners to God infinitely more difficult. So it reminded me from economics point of view, just the same way. So like, and even just every single country is using like, one kind of just, maybe just uh, money, right? So yeah, it's just every single kind of just the country has like only one currency, it does not have two currencies, because even just the headship does not basically recognize any association, right? So like, just now there has to be some sort of kind of rule in it. So there must be only one ruler, and just like one monetary kind of just, policy, one this and one that. So, and we can see like just pretty much the similar kind of just examples even in economics, or like in just maybe daily life and everything. And I also like, Stud's example in a different kind of way, when he also used this way that just even we were discussing about it last week in Turkish kind of just halakha, that just by itself, like, I mean, just yourself, you maybe just you have insignificant strength and everything, but as soon as you join to an army, you join to some sort of kind of just troops and whatnot, so you just immediately your power goes like in just, I mean, thousands folds, right? The same way that you understand like, I mean, how important that is, just to understand these parts and to see the attributes and the names of Allah, and educating ourselves like, seeing them is very important. So far, like, that's what I would like to just comment on it. And I don't want to like just give a little kind of some different examples, but I believe maybe Kolajam has like wanting to comment on this. Go ahead.
Actually, just at the end of the section
Mhm.
that you read, when Ustad
Mhm.
talks about the sophists,
Mhm.
who realized that the path of associating partners with God was infinitely more difficult than the way of truth. And
Yes.
so they turned away their faces from the way of truth and looked
Mhm.
to that of unbelief, and they were
Mhm.
compelled to renounce their reasons, their powers of reason, and deny the existence of everything. Actually, today, the postmodernists fill that position,
Mhm.
actually, because while
Mhm.
they don't deny the existence of everything, they deny the meaning and existence of everything, and
Mhm.
they set themselves up as the ones who tell us what language means. In other words, it
Mhm.
means whatever they want it to mean. So, Ostad was very prescient. He was talking about the sophists who were Greek philosophers.
Mhm.
But we have the sophists today. They haven't disappeared. They've just changed their colors, really,
Mhm.
or, changed their coats.
Mhm.
And now we have postmodern and the
Mhm.
relativization of truth. People talk about, okay, there's no absolute truth. There's my truth and there's your truth.
Mhm.
And that actually they absolutize it as well. So that shows how contradictory they are, the same as the sophists.
Oh, oh, yeah.
So these
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
just carry on. These things
Mhm.
are
Mhm.
perpetual. There will
Mhm.
always be, as
Mhm.
in Ustad's time, the sophists were,
Mhm.
the example of
Mhm.
futility, of human beings who don't
Mhm.
choose the path of belief, and they say, oh well, we deny everything. They become
Mhm.
nihilist. And
Mhm.
also
Mhm.
postmodernists, it's a kind of narcissistic nihilism as well. So it
Mhm.
continues throughout the ages. That's all I wanted to.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally understand. Yeah, totally agree with you. Yeah, just again and again, it's just basically, yeah, we're going like this and all around this subject. Yeah, the same kind of like in a discussion goes around and around. And then yeah, I guess like it's just and it's all of us like this means what also I enjoy like this been discussing with you guys like this been an understanding is that, so like how important that is to see all these discussions and everything, the arguments that we are reading from, of course, I mean, just believers, like, point of view, and how truthful it is, and how very solid kind of ground it has, and it is like just been very important, because just I cannot silent the question that has been coming like just from my heart, from my spirit, from my mind, and from all around me, is that like they're asking the same question over and over. So, where is our destination? Where are we coming from? Right? So because like in our heart and our body, like in everything, so emotionally we want eternity. We want to live like in a forever. So like, how are you going to just make it quiet? So just basically that just the never-ending kind of question. The quest is exactly the same. So like, and I would like to answer this, and I would like to listen the true meaning of this, right? So the true explanation is right here, right in front of us, and so this is what we would like to educate ourselves and understand Allah's attributes and names better and better every single day, and then improve our understanding and iman, inshallah. And what great, like in a way, of course, when reading it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
before
Ramadan.
Ford actually
Mhm.
following up,
Please.
Colin Hocam's, talking about postmodern truth,
Mhm.
or post-truth era.
Mhm.
But this is really interesting and this is very relevant. And
Mhm.
I loved Colin Hocam's bringing, sophists to today, and we
Mhm.
have sophists all the time.
Yeah.
And actually, I want to also take Ustad's credits on sophists. He
Mhm.
gives credit to sophists here, like when
Yeah.
other philosophers or other
Yeah.
people trying to make meaning out of
Mhm.
existence, even they're worse, to our understanding,
Mhm.
But the point is, actually, I want to elaborate on the judgment or statements that I find so powerful before these sophists, where it says everything becomes so difficult to come into existence if we don't submit it to a single being. If we can just underline that, I want to elaborate on this statement. I think a little bit up. Um, Nazif Hocam,
Mhm.
can you
Ah,
scroll up a little bit?
certainly. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, a little bit up,
Oh,
up,
mhm.
up. Yeah, I think somewhere if the beings are not attributed to, yeah, it's there. If the beings are not attributed directly to a single maker,
Mhm.
um, yeah, each becomes as problematical as all beings, and the value of them decreases. It
Mhm.
falls to that of a single being. I think this is an amazing statement.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think here the judgment is all of us, all existential beings, all conscious beings to say, has to judge, is this universe having
Mhm.
easiness in existence? Like, is easiness the core or difficulty is the core? This is one question, I think. And the other question um, is everything valuable or is everything just, kind of average or mediocre to say? So I think these are the two judgments we have to give in the first place when we have our consciousness. So if I say the universe has at the core easiness, and at the core value, regardless of the scale, then I think all the logic should fit in. Then for easiness, here it is shown that, easiness comes from Tawhid and
Mhm.
value comes from, constellation of Esmail Husna. In other words, easiness comes from Wahidiyya, value comes from Ahadiyya. So I think this is a perfect summary statement or judgment made here.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. And yeah, I like your kind of yeah, logic, and especially putting it that way. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, just especially in here. So that's a great kind of comment that just start makes it. Yeah. So, and at the same time, as you just pointed out, so yeah, just what is the core value? The easiness and yeah, the core. Konujam, would you like to comment on this?
I just wanted to congratulate Harun on that
Yeah.
statement, which he needs to put in the chat.
Mhm.
Easiness comes through Wahidiyya and value comes through Ahadiyya because Ahadiyya is the marker of of uniqueness. Everything is equally because everything is unique. Everything is valuable, you know. And the ease comes from the Wahidiyya because it's come from the one source. I haven't heard it actually expressed in that way before. So if he could put it in the in the WhatsApp group, just as a reminder.
Yeah.
It's very, very important actually. I mean, it
Mhm.
sort of encapsulates the whole reason of why we need to understand Tawheed on both levels of Ahadiyya, Wahidiyya.
Hmm.
Otherwise, just saying God is one, it's just a mantra. It doesn't mean anything.
Hmm.
Knowing that value and ease require one creator who creates everything, but who creates everything uniquely,
Hmm.
is a very succinct and comprehensive way of explaining so much.
Hmm.
And the sophists, if they can't understand that, then they're going to have to deny everything. It's either all or nothing. Either you accept there is an Allah, or nothing is meaningful at all. Nothing has any meaning. So actually, when the sophists deny everything, they're being more honest than unbelievers who go around their lives and everything they do is meaningful on their own level.
Hmm.
And yet they deny meaning for the whole of creation. The sophists, at
Hmm.
least,
Hmm.
in their craziness, were honest enough to deny everything. Rather
Yeah.
and saying, and nothing is meaningful, nothing has any meaning, rather
Hmm.
than pretending.
Hmm. Yeah. And actually, just up to some sort of kind of scale, so we all see this, and I totally agree with Harn. So like saying that, yeah, just about overall, if there's a yeah, there's easiness, but at the same time, I guess if I'm gonna give it a try, like if I can just like comment on this because I'd like to look from like it's maybe just from economics point of view because it's like the biggest companies, right? So like and as you get like just larger and larger, the reason like sometimes like monopolies why they exist is because in order to decrease the cost, right? So because if you just reach to some sort of kind of economic scale, if you make it like as large as possible, so then your cost of like production goes down and down, and especially when you go to like mass production. So of course, I mean, it becomes like so easy to produce a lot of kind of stuff and like an easiness. But at the same time, he asked the second question, like, does it have a value in it? So like an overall looking at it, can we immediately copy some sort of kind of like a huge, a giant company? So no, I don't think so because it's not going to be easy. And overall, does it have a value? Of course. I mean, just look at that. So like you have built a huge kind of company. So like, and it has a great kind of value and it must go through like some sort of that sort of kind of scale. Right. And so Allah Almighty is just pretty much the same, right? So like, and it's been he created this like whole universe. It's so like, and it's been so large, and it reached to like a point of view like and just that. So like, and everything becomes so easy. But does it have a value in from his perspective? I don't think so because like, and you start so like, and it mentions like in a different kind of place that it doesn't have that sort of kind of value in it. But of course, I mean, just from our understanding, I guess like it has a value, and just that we would like to comprehend it. And of course, I mean, just think through, like, I mean, just an overall think correctly. So then what more, like what information we can extract and understand and his maybe oneness, right? And Ihadi and Wahidi, like Konajam, he made a point. So it is very important to draw some attention on it. So to see this so easiness, but at the same time the difficulty as well, I guess, like so then we can see his power. So and that's why like the 10th phrase is making sure that just وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. So yes, I mean he is the one who is look at the power in it, but look at the same time the easiness in it. So right, so it's just so we're like in just some sort of kind of like in a balance, like in just in a bar, right? So just basically we're just trying to like just keep it in balance, and I believe so. And yeah, does that? I mean, I'm not sure like this, but overall, this is what I came to my mind. So, Harnajam, would you like to comment on your own question?
No, that's great. I think I like that we elaborated on this
Uh-huh.
part.
Cool,
It's so
cool.
valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, just I really appreciated it just yeah, because while reading it, so I also wanted to stop here just but then just moved on that how it becomes like so problematical. So just the saying that so of course if you just somehow assume or somehow like I just mean make a point that just yeah there is no single kind of maker or just there is this there is that, so immediately it's just you it's kind of like I mean just a little kind of wood kind of just the toy. So when you were making that sort of some sort of kind of thing, just but of course and it's the single maker, it's kind of like on a keystone. When you just take it out of the puzzle, of course, I mean it just everything basically it just collapses. So that's why I guess he just make sure that just to start to point it out. Yeah. All right. Shall we move on to the fourth? And then maybe just we can talk a little more. All right, the fourth, the creation of paradise is as easy as that of the spring in relation to the all-powerful one's power, who administers the universe with acts that are plain to see. The creation of spring is as easy as that of a flower. The loveliness of a flower's art and the fineness in its creation may be as beautiful and valuable as a spring. The mystery of this truth is threefold. First, the necessity and total detachment of the maker. Second, the complete otherness of his essence and his unrestrictedness. Third, he is not being bound by space and his indivisibility. First mystery, the fact that necessity and total detachment give rise to infinite ease and facility is an extremely profound mystery. We shall facilitate understanding of it with the following comparison. The degrees of existence are different, and the worlds of existence are all different. Because they are all different, a particle from a level of existence that is deeply rooted in existence is as great as a mountain from a less substantial level. It contains the mountain. For example, the faculty of memory, which is the size of a mustard seed in a head from the manifest world, takes on an existence the size of a library from the world of meaning. And a mirror the size of a fingernail from the external world encompasses a mighty city from the level of the world of similitudes. If the memory and the mirror from the external world had possessed consciousness and creative power, they would have been able to bring about endless transformations and activity in the worlds of meaning and similitudes through the power of their minute existences in the external world. That is to say, when existence is firmly established, power increases. What is only a little becomes much, especially if, having acquired complete stability, existence is disengaged and detached from materiality and is not restricted. Only a partial manifestation of it will be able to transform many worlds of other less substantial levels of existence. Thus, and God's is the highest similitude, 1660, the universe's glorious maker is necessarily existent. That is, his existence is essential, it is pre-eternal and post-eternal. Its non-existence is impossible. Its cessation is impossible. It is the most firmly rooted, the most sound, the strongest, and the most perfect of the levels of existence. In relation to his existence, the other levels of existence are like extremely pale shadows. Maybe we can stop here and go back and I would like to listen our panelists what they would like to comment on this. And let's begin with Harmajam. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's really tough. You know, I think the fourth part is
Mhm.
the toughest part.
Yeah, it is.
Confess.
Yeah.
But you know, I
Mhm.
can say it's so powerful and it's
Mhm.
so poetic in a way that it flows, you know, and
Mhm.
I'm so amazed in the first place in this
Yeah.
explanation how closer
Mhm.
that Said Nursi tries to take the notion of existence of the creator
Mhm.
to our minds, you know. I
Mhm.
am so amazed, you know.
Yeah.
So You know, in Turkish we say sehli mümteni. It's in a easiness of impossibility, you know. He brings this concept in. With that, actually, here obviously we are talking about levels of existence, and looks like there are superior levels of existence, more substantial levels of existence versus, you know, lower ones. And examples are stunning, you know, like mirrors. When I look at my image in the mirror, a small, very tiny mirror of an inch, let's say, can just have all my face, even all my body, depending on the mirror, can include my image. So obviously here, the image world is contended, is included inside the physical existing entity. So here, the physical entity has superior existence compared to the image or reflection. So that is an amazing observation. Even, you know, there's this topic in Risale-i which talks about the levels of mind. In Lemat, I guess, Ustad talks about levels of our mind. One is imagination, one is, you know, reflection, or one is reasoning. So different levels of mind. Even I think it has connection to here. Like the stronger level of mind definitely includes all type of lower levels of minds, like imagination is one of the lowest. So if we have sound reasoning to say, if our mind works at the upper levels of it, you know, it can contain all the lower levels of the minds immediately, to say. So yeah, of course, concrete examples are given here, like the mirror one. And of course, where we come. So we know all the existence here are created. They are not existing themselves. So they are sustained through an existence, you know, which is highest level, at the highest level of perfection, at the highest level of strongness, you know. So we are trying to, in a way, induce from what we understand to the, you know, ultimate existence creator, and how that type of existence can sustain anything immediately. You know,
Right.
that's the logic,
Yeah.
how it flows, looks like.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's a great summary. Great comment. Really enjoyed it. Kulijan, would you like to comment on this?
I'd like to comment on it, but how long do we have?
Oh, we have two. Yeah, we have two more than
I
20.
mean, no, I mean, sort of rhetorically, this would
Yes.
take maybe a few conferences and a few papers and
A few
several books.
papers. Yes, sir. Yeah.
You know, it's what basically he's talking about. There is this notion of, classically, of Hazarat Khamsa, you know, the five presences of Allah. From, I think it's, if I can remember, Hahut, Lahut, Jabarut, Malakut, and Nasut. Basically, these are levels of existence. And of course, as he says here, Ustad says that the soundest and most stable level of existence, of course, is the divine essence, from which everything else is, of which everything else is a pale shadow. So when we get down to Mulk, I'm sitting at the moment in my library, surrounded by books, but actually I can store that much. In my memory, I can store a whole library, 100 libraries of thoughts. I mean, I don't mean I can memorize the books. That's a different issue. But I have memories, and I have lata'if and notions, and surmisals, and all of these lata'if, uh, which are apparently located in a very, very tiny part of the brain. Of course, we know that this is just a symbol. The material things basically are just placeholders for these immaterial things. In Malakut, for example, this world is a translation of Malakut. So in Malakut, our memory is in Malakut, actually. Our lata'if are in malakut. When you sleep and you dream, you are in malakut.
Yeah.
So everything gets translated into what we call the corporeal world, the world of, flesh and blood and books and bookshelves.
Right.
But what Ustad is saying is the more deeply rooted the existence is, and he uses the memory as an example, then the more that it reflects. And if the memory, this is the amazing thing he says, if the memory was conscious, it would be able to bring about changes in those other realms. And this is what will happen in the next world. When you remember something, you will be able to visit it again. And this is, of course, what we all wish to do now, to travel back in time. We can't travel back in time now because we're in Alamul Mulk. But in the next world, you will be able to see the past.
Yes, sir.
You'll be able to visit it because it still exists. It's in Lawh Mahfuz. It's there.
Right, right. Yeah.
So what he's saying here I mean, it's too much. It's above my pay grade to unpack it. In 20 minutes. It would probably take me 20 weeks,
Yeah.
and with lots of help from others.
Mhm.
But what he's saying is very, very profound, but he also says it very eloquently.
Mhm.
And what he's basically showing us is that the more stable the existence, the easier things are. So when you think of the divine essence, that is absolute ease, which is what he's been saying, right?
Mhm.
With absolute ease, Allah creates everything that has absolute value. In other words, it's
Yeah.
absolutely valuable because He has created it.
Mhm.
So, as Harun was saying before,
Mhm.
ease, wahidiyah, value, ahadiyah. And these are made possible because they're coming from the most stable source of meaning, which
Mhm.
is disengaged from matter, right?
Mhm.
Sitting here surrounded by books is not the same as having a memory which belongs in Malakut, and having Lata'if, which can actually embrace the whole of the universe. I can imagine much, much more than I can read in these books, which are physical, corporeal things.
Yeah.
So he's saying a lot here, a lot, and
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciated just your way of kind of thinking and just explanation. Yeah, I love that. And maybe we can listen from Ali Hocam if he's available. Maybe he would like to say a couple things on this. Is he available? Ali Çetinkaya? Mm, maybe not. Maybe not now. Maybe later. All right. Yeah, thank you. All right. Anyone else? Just please let me know if you would like to comment on this. And yeah, we would love to hear comments from outside as well. All right, let's continue then. So maybe we can just talk a little more. We still have time, so maybe we can finish the fourth. All right. So it goes like this. The degree of necessary existence is so stable and real, and contingent existence is so insubstantial and pale that many of those who have investigated creation, such as Muhyiddin al-Arabi, have relegated the other levels of existence to the level of delusion and imagination. They said there is no existent save him. That is, things should not be ascribed existence relatively to the necessary existence. They asserted that they do not deserve to be called existent. Thus, for the necessarily existent one's power, which is both necessary and essential, contingent beings both created and accidental existences, and both unstable and powerless realities are infinitely easy and simple. To raise all human beings to life and then judge them at the great gathering is as easy as resurrecting leaves, flowers, and fruits in the spring. Indeed, in a garden or on a tree? Let's read the second mystery as well. Second mystery.
I think we cannot get into second one, right, Nazif Hocam?
Uh, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Just oh yeah, yeah. Maybe we can comment a little more on this. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
we
I
can
felt
go
like,
back.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Oh
I
no, no. Yeah. I just noticed that we have only
difficult
10
to get
minutes
into
left.
the
Yeah.
other
Thank
one.
you. Thank you. Yeah. Maybe we can comment. Yeah. Maybe we can continue with you. Just yeah. Maybe if you would like to say a
Um,
couple things on this.
I first, Ustad Nursi, he is so inclusive, he
Mhm.
is just citing any profound idea from Islamic tradition, from Western tradition, anything you can find. So I love this part in
Mhm.
the sense that, he is ascribing Muhyiddin Arabi, we know the thought of Wahdat al-Wujud,
Mhm.
and we know that Ustad Nursi is not supporter of Wahdat al-Wujud, but
Mhm.
he's supporter of Wahdat al-Wujud, where it has, profound logic and profound ideas. So he's not completely rejecting, but he's selectively using what is right in a general philosophy or in a general idea to say. I think here's an excellent example. So he's taking
Mhm.
Muhyiddin Arabi's statement not as is, but he's taking his statement as what Muhyiddin Arabi wanted to say. But we know most of the people judge people with their statements not based on what they wanted to say, but based on what they said. So I think this is an excellent lesson in the first
Mhm.
place. Don't judge people with their statement, judge them based on what they meant to say.
Mhm.
So with that, actually, he's explaining what Muhyiddin Arabi meant to say, which is
Mhm.
in relation to explaining levels of existence. That's
Mhm.
perfect. So here we see his statement boils down to saying that nothing really exists compared to the existence of the creator. That simple, that profound, and that summary statement.
Mhm.
Um, and after that, I like Ustad Nursi's summarizing. So, how is this strong level of existence relation to the topic here, to the context here? Since we are talking about easiness of creation and value of everything, so he
Mhm.
says, hey, look at, resurrection. It's not a
Mhm.
big deal.
Mhm.
Resurrection is no different than, spring, or it's no different than blossoms or flowers,
Mhm.
You can see, look at the resurrection inside a tree. Look at a tree and how tree is blossomed in the spring. It is a resurrection. And we clearly understand with such an existence level, it is as easy to just give fruit or give flower to a tree versus create the spring as a whole versus create paradise as a whole. They are equivalent. So
Mhm.
I think that's an amazing summary of what's going on.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you. Great. Konleja, any words on this?
Yeah, I mean, just picking up on what Harun said about, people who say things and then other people misunderstand them and they take them at
Mhm.
face value or literally. I
Yeah.
mean, also Ustad does it with Mansur Hallaj or Hallaj Mansur, whichever way you want round you want to call him, and said
Mhm.
that, when he said Ana al-Haq,
Mhm.
this is what is known as shatahat, these
Mhm.
ecstatic phrases that people uttered at the height of, spiritual ecstasy. And actually, Ustad says that, on his own level, he was right, but it was also right that they should have executed him because it was very misleading.
Yeah.
So, he's very fair. And, he gives credit where credit is due. He also gives credit to Ibn Arabi,
Mhm.
and I find that I think there are four different places in the Risale where Ustad talks about Wahdatul Wujud, and he's not sort of unequivocally against it, but I think he's selective in the way he understands it.
Mhm.
He doesn't denounce it outright, and I think this is because he understood Wahdatul Wujud is actually not something that Ibn al-Arabi ever mentions. It was Ibn al-Arabi's disciples, and those who came after, who developed this idea of wahdatul wujud. But then going on to, I mean, these English words here, like necessary and essential, contingent, created and accidental existences, they can't bear the weight of their meanings as the Arabic words can. So I think we have to be careful. But what he's saying here is basically, things are not mawjud bizat. They don't have essential existence. They are completely and totally and utterly dependent on the wajibul wujud. So how can we actually say they have existence in that sense? Their existence is dependent. And
Right.
then when he says to raise all human beings to life and then judge them, that the great gathering is as easy as, resurrecting everything. Again, this goes back to the fact that Allah is disengaged from matter, that he is indivisible, that he is completely other than the creation. And Ustad uses the mirror example. And I was thinking, if you've got lots of different sized mirrors and you're standing in your bathroom, it's as easy for you to reflect your little finger in a mirror as it is to reflect your whole body in the full mirror. So, these masals that he gives are very helpful, and they assist us in understanding these concepts, which are extremely profound. I mean, what Ustad is writing here, as I said, there are lots of things here that's completely above my pay grade, right? It's just I would have to sit down and really, really study, and yet we can get something from it as we're getting now.
Right.
It's like picking fruit from a tree. The
Mhm.
taller you are, the more
Yeah.
fruit you can pick.
Yeah.
But you will get something, and we're getting something from it. But
Mhm.
like, I really do focus. Well, I do emphasize that these are profound
Mhm.
teachings here, which really need to be studied.
Indeed. Indeed. Yeah.
Because there's so much in them. It's so concise. That's the
Mhm.
problem. It's so
Mhm.
concise and
Mhm.
also eloquent
Mhm.
that it's a bit deceptive. And this is why we rush through it. When I'm reading, I rush through it, and I realize afterwards I missed most of what he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah. It happens to all of us. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
these are so dense.
Yeah.
Can I ask a word question? Is it a correct translation to say accidental existence? Actually, I looked at it. It's RZ, RZ. Is it is it okay to say accidental?
Yeah, an accident is arad. Like for example, redness in an apple is arad, and it's called an accident.
Okay.
It's just very unfortunate that
Mhm.
accident can also give the idea of random.
Yeah, actually, I felt like, is this meaning random existence, which is not meant,
No, it's aradi. But I've always disliked that this. I've disliked the translation of.
Mhm.
It's the same with nature as well. I mean, these are poisonous words, and if they're, I mean, this is why we needed the
Mhm.
original next to it. We need the
maybe we
original.
have lots to do. Maybe it's good to just put an apostrophe and explain what
Mhm.
accidental means here, not to,
Mhm.
mislead the first time readers, especially.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, first time reader reading accidental existences and not maybe not knowing, the notion of essence, existence, and accidents in a being,
Mhm.
would think that, well, this is random then.
Yeah. Yeah. May give a wrong idea. Yeah. 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 But that's a good point that just Harnujam just raised now. Yeah. Maybe next time, like, we can just put a double screen or something just right next to it. So and
I think so. Yeah. Also
Mhm.
necessary,
Mhm.
it's necessary for God to exist. It means it's necessary that, someone may think it's necessary that he should come into existence. It doesn't mean that at all.
Mhm.
That was a question actually someone asked me. What do you mean God is necessarily existence? What necessitated his existence?
Yes.
Doesn't
That's a
it
good
doesn't
point.
it doesn't mean that, because then we go to an endless regress.
Yeah.
Did something necessitate his existence?
Yeah.
Wajib al wujud means his wujud it cannot be, he cannot not exist.
Yeah.
But then people say, well, you can't say cannot about Allah, and then you get into these, interminable arguments over
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
And this is why, English, as wonderful as English is,
Mhm.
it's not strong enough to bear the weight of Quranic concepts.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. That definitely it is.
Yeah, Recep abi wrote it in Aristotelian terms. Accident means coming to existence in relation to others.
Rajab Hoja should actually unmute and
Yeah.
tell us.
Coexisting relation. Yeah. Aristotelian terms. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Well, I think we're almost out of time, and maybe we can go to Jazmujam. So if you're available, maybe you can recite something from Quran and just make dua, and maybe we can end today's meeting. And at the same time, and maybe we can make an announcement maybe next week about it. So Jazmujam, are we gonna be here or are we gonna go to picnic?
Inshallah, if we arrange a moderator, Abi,
Mm-hmm.
and continue.
Okay.
This topic is
Yeah.
it's very deep.
Yeah, we should continue next week.
And
Maybe we can just make the announcement now. Like, yeah, just overall we can meet, and if anything happens, we'll announce it through WhatsApp. Yeah.
Is it a virtual Zoom picnic or a real picnic?
Maybe we can take all of you guys to picnic. Yeah,
Yeah, if there's a picnic, we all want to come.
definitely. Yeah.
And if there's ice cream there, Rajab will be there at the front of the queue.
inshallah.
Inshallah. Yeah.
أعوذ
Uh,
بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. صدق الله العظيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين وآلهم والحمد لله رب العالمين. ربنا أتمم لنا نورنا واغفر لنا إنك على كل شيء قدير. ربنا لا تخرجنا من الدنيا إلا مع الشهادة والإيمان. آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.